Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Law and Society. If there is a plot to subvert American democracy, Roger Stone is always there. And this time around is no different. I think that we have heard enough about Roger Stone in the January 6th committee and all of the other information and news that has come out for the last 2.5 years. But I want to premise what we know about Roger Stone from the vantage point of that video that was leaked, that was available to us. So, Roger Stone coined the term "Stop the Steal" in 2016 as a preemptory public relations election fraud conspiracy theory he planned to deploy throughout far right media platforms had Hillary won the 2016 election. When it turned out that Donald Trump had won, Stop the Steal went into dormancy. Fast forward 4 years. Roger Stone revived Stop the Steal to galvanize conspiracy theorists and anarchists even before the 2020 presidential election began. He also closely coordinated with extremist groups like the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. Alex Jones picked up the Stop the Steal cause and ran with it. He enlisted the ultra-rich heiress of Publix Supermax, the supermarket chain, who donated $3 million to organize Stop the Steal for January 6th. So the whole concept of Stop the Steal comes from is Roger Stone's brainchild. And as we see that, by the way, JFK Live, you've posted a lot of messages and I appreciate it. Good morning. If you want to stick around, I will address your questions. I will address any of the issues that you've written about once I have gone over what I'm talking about. So please stick around. And if you're new, please like and subscribe. And you can click the bell notification if you want to be up to date on my posts. So for now, I appreciate that you're here. And please share whatever you want to share, even if it is contrarian to what I'm saying. But at this point, I can't really reply back to you. Just want to let you know. So there was a. So if you're new, please stick around. Thank you for being here. Your interaction is important. And but I come here with a couple of things that I need to say. So we go back to Roger Stone. So we have this video that has come up recently about Roger Stone dictating this independent state legislator theory, and then wrapping it up with a fake elector plot that is something that we hear in Kenneth Chesebro's memo to Wisconsin state officials, I believe, and then that was picked up and spurned out to battleground states by John Eastman, and then John Eastman took the cause to vice president. So one thing to be clear is that the independent legislator theory, independent state legislator theory, was dismissed and was rejected by the Supreme Court just, I think, a couple of months ago in Moore v. Harper. And I haven't had a chance to go through that opinion, but I intend on doing it at some point, and I will let you know on Twitter as well as here. There are a lot of these important constitutional documents that have come out in these times that we all need to learn about. And I believe this sort of at this point secondary to the more imminent threats to our democracy. So we had this video from few days after the election where he's dictating essentially the independent state legislative theory and also the fake election narrative, right? But on the other side, we have learned from January 6th committee that there was also a group called Friends of Stone that included Enrique Tarrio, Elmer Stewart Rhodes, and several others from, you know, I don't know, I think there was like 47 people or not. I'm not really sure who the people are, but I vaguely remember Alex Jones being one of the members, but I'm not entirely sure. But I know that Elmer Stewart Rhodes and Enrique Tarrio were part of this Friends of Stone group. So there's this link coming down from Donald Trump and Roger Stone, whether on his own volition, or enthusiastically, or by being directed by somebody, because Roger Stone isn't a billionaire. He goes out and spurns this Stop the Steal idea all over again. And as he does that in far-right media, Alex Jones picks it up. Alex Jones picks it up and amplifies Stop the Steal. Then he enlists Publix Heiress to fund Stop the Steal rally on January 6th. And at the insurrection, Alex Jones and Ali Alexander, and now we know Kenneth Chesbro, who was part of the fake elector scheme, were in the crowd on January 6th. And I don't know if Kenneth Chesbro went up to the stairs of the rotunda on the outside of the rotunda like Alex Jones and Ali Alexander did or not, but we know that Alex Jones and Ali Alexander did. So you have this. Oh, and the other thing about Roger Stone, the day before the insurrection on January 6th, there was, on January 5th, Roger Stone came to inspect Washington, D.C. And his bodyguard was a man named Joshua James, who was the Alabama chapter president of the Oath Keepers. He also happens to be the first person to plead guilty to seditious conspiracy when Elmer Stewart Rhodes and that gang of Oath Keepers were tried and then convicted. Joshua James was one of the people who actually pled guilty, and he was Roger Stone's bodyguard on January 5th when Roger Stone came to check out the grounds, so to speak. So there's a whole lot there. There's a history that connects Roger Stone to Donald Trump. Then there's this, we don't know any communication so far in the public. There hasn't been any communication that there's a link between Donald Trump and Roger Stone in the context of them discussing this independent state legislator and fake elector plan. You see what I'm saying? There is Donald Trump touting it. There is Roger Stone touting it and working with election people and with the media and in the Friends of Stone group. But we don't see a connection where there's an agreement between, so far we don't have an agreement between, or some sort of a communication between, or a link between Roger Stone and Donald Trump's discussing this conspiracy. Neither the fake elector scheme nor the violent part of it. But Roger Stone, we find out because of this video, has his hands in both of those conspiracies. Both the seditious conspiracy and then the criminal conspiracy on the other side. So we and many people are saying this. Many experts are saying this, and I'm not an expert. I'm just an active citizen. There are many experts who are saying, and I agree with it, that Roger Stone will face charges because there are just a lot of links So now the question is whether Jack Smith can link Roger Stone to these activities that have happened um, with Donald Trump's, agreement, so to speak, to solidify charges that links Donald Trump to it. In and of itself, Roger Stone's actions would constitute the same crimes that would be part of the fake elector scheme, or uh, even the Friends of Stone group of which Enrique and Elmer were a part. So we don't know how much Jack Smith has. We don't know how much Jack Smith is getting out of it, but I believe we'll find out a lot when Roger Stone is indicted, if he does get indicted. Now, I want to sort of discuss, after this Roger Stone thing, a couple more things. But before I do, I'm going to take a water break. Thank you for being here. So briefly, I'm going to look at what you have to say. But you've said a lot. I'm not entirely sure that I can address everything you've said. Okay, I understand. You're just okay. You don't have any questions. Yeah, please do share it. I haven't studied it close enough to say yes or no to either Harlan Crow's connection. But I appreciate your participation and your civility of being here. And if there are others in the chat room, please feel free to interact and go back to my episode afterwards. So now I want to sort of pivot to Donald Trump and what is going on with the violation of his conditions of bond, which included not threatening people. And we'll have to see what Judge Chutkan does on August 28th, which is about 9 days away. But let's not forget that veiled threats, or even thinly veiled threats, or completely naked threats to the president, the current president, Joe Biden, resulted in threats issued by Craig Robertson, 70-year-old man who wouldn't back down after the FBI asked him whether he was serious or not. And then they went to his house with an arrest warrant, and he had a gunfight with the FBI officers, and he was killed. So, that's casualty. These are people who are dying or being incarcerated for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump will make martyrs of them. We'll talk about them. But the truth is the fact that Donald Trump lost in the 2020 election, and he has to this day used the lie that he didn't lose, that the election was somehow rigged, and that's why he didn't lose, to spin out these chaos factors and these violent, extremists who come out and carry out random acts of violence, seemingly random acts of violence. These acts of violence aren't random, though, because they are all directly linked to the stochastic violence that Donald Trump incites on a regular basis on Truth Social and through other media. His statements are not any more coherent or empty of anything sort of good to say. That's his all his statements. It's all vitriol. It's lies, distractions, and delays. So, but the messages where he incites, he prescribes violence. Yeah, exactly. I mean, in many ways, you're right. But he does it tacitly enough, exactly like mob boss would, and that's why there's such a There's such a serendipity sort of to uh, the Georgia RICO case because at the beginning of the indictment, if you have read the Georgia indictment, but if you haven't, do read it. And if you don't have the time, I have an episode that does a deep dive on the Georgia indictment in my channel, so check it out. Uh, there's the explanation of what a RICO organization is, an enterprise is, and Fani Willis does an excellent job of sort of letting us know. So we just have to wait for what Judge Chutkan does. And I don't know whether she will address it or not, but I have talked about it in my previous video about how the judiciary needs to act to counter Donald Trump and his allies' reckless disregard for the rule of law. So, with that, let me see. Yeah, he prescribes violence. He directly threatens people, and then he causes people who treat him as a god and a deity and a dictator to sort of go past just words, you see. But Donald Trump does it in such a way that it is essentially making a mob out of MAGA. It is I mean, yes, you're right. I agree with you about Judge Chutkan, but one of the things that I have talked about, and you can check out the video and the explanation about it, and you can leave a comment there. I'd be happy to interact with you on this about federal judiciary and each of the jurisdictions' highest courts taking, in their own accord, actions to prevent Donald Trump from attacking Fani Willis, officers of the court, Judge McAfee, or I don't know what his name is yet. I think it's McAfee. And then there's in New York, Alvin Bragg, and then there's Tony Chutkan in DC. Notice how he's not attacking Eileen Cannon, and that's a whole other ball of cannon. So we're just gonna leave Eileen Cannon where she is at the moment. So I wanted to keep you an update on that, but I also wanted to update you on, it's been 2.5 years, over 2.5 years, and now we have a group of people from the right who are comfortable with saying that Donald Trump, it's right for Donald Trump to be indicted for these. And if they are allegedly true and if can be proven in court, that Donald Trump should go to prison. And that includes Bill Barr and Alberto Gonzalez. And the bar is low at the moment. So, and this is not BAR, the BAR is low when it comes to Republican leadership. And so Bill Barr and they are attorneys general of two administrations, so for the Bush and Donald Trump's own, who now come out and say quite blatantly that what's out, is indictable, and if proven, he should go to prison. And then on the political front, we have Chris Christie, Asa Hutchinson, and Will Hurd, who are who are in the presidential trail, who go out and are not afraid to talk about what Donald did on January 6th, and they're not afraid of it, even if they get booed, which I think is amazing. And I think it's a great thing that Chris Christie is going to be on that stage. In my mind, at this moment, out of all of the declared candidates, Chris Christie, to me, he's not a perfect candidate, mind you, far from it, but he is the only viable candidate who wouldn't, I mean, in the universe that the Republican candidate would win the election, which I don't believe they will, especially because we now live in a world where Roe versus Wade is no longer rule of law, is no longer law of the land. And that is going to be one of the biggest factors coming up in the presidential election. You have to remember that. And that happened because of a conservative court and a conservative president who appointed and a conservative Senate majority that approved the appointment of far right extremist judges, originalist judges. But there are people now who are in the mainstream, and then there's Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, who we all should be grateful for, because no matter what their policies were, they stood with the country and they stood with the Constitution. And you have to understand that the amount you can see that the mass majority of Republicans are too scared to stand up to the Republican establishment. But Liz Cheney wasn't, and she has to have a backbone because she's the daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney. But Adam Kinzinger is one of those bright stars who stands alone without any sort of family legacy, who stood his ground. And January 6th committee report is in many ways the skeletal backbone of a lot of the investigations that have gone on in the federal jurisdiction, and I'm not sure if it's gone on in the state jurisdiction or not. But there have been corollaries between, and at least for the American public, the January 6th committee's hearings and their final report, that was an eye-opening thing, because when you see the indictments, we get to know some new tidbit facts here and there, but as a whole, we know this story by now, So, yeah, I don't think he's going to actually get to being the next Hitler. The GOP is a cult, and the way polls are done. I don't know how polls are done, but I would assume in statistics, if you're doing a poll, you would pick a swath that went across the political spectrum, regardless of what the actual number of people there are in one party or another. If you're doing a polling, you want to have a swath of the political spectrum. Now, if that happens by a political spectrum of people who watch ABC, who take ABC's calls, or if these are phone call polls, or if there are other actual polling, I don't know how they do that. But the statistical part of it is that it represents an equitable sort of pie chart of what was I saying? You've written so much, I forgot what I was saying. But it's 23 minutes. Oh yeah, polls. So, but the number of Republicans across the country, the number of Republicans versus Democrats, I don't know. I haven't. At least in the 2020 election, remember, 2020 election, only 18% of Gen Xers voted, but their votes had an impact. Imagine that. 18% of Gen Xers who were eligible to vote voted in 2020. And that made a huge difference in Joe Biden's vote. The question I have, and the imagination I want you to open up to and talk to Gen Xers to energize more of them to go and vote, is that imagine if that number doubles. So if you have like 18%, if you have 36% of Gen Xers vote in 2024, it will be a landslide and it will bring Congress and the White House to Democrats. If Gen Xers can do that, you get that to 50%, you've solved most of the problems the country has. Okay? 50% of eligible Gen Xers go out and vote, then you have a new country where we can codify the rights of women to choose whether or not to terminate their pregnancy. The right to choose, something that was taken away. So I've gone into politics now. And so JFJ Live, I really appreciate being here. There are 3 of you here. So if you're new, please stick around. Rewind back. I was talking about Roger Stone, and then afterwards we got to hey, Deb, you're awake. Thank you for being here. JFJ has been here for quite some time now, and he has a lot to say, and I've picked up on some of the things. And he hasn't asked any questions, but I am very happy that there's 3 of you here. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box or leave a comment, and I'll be more than happy to address your comments. For now, keep an eye out for August 28th to 8, because that's when Judge Chutkan has the hearing to set the trial date. We already know that Jack Smith has asked for January of 2024, and Donald Trump has asked for April of 2026. So, and trust me, it's going to be far closer to January of 2024 than 2026. And because of the fact that there was a threat made on Judge Tanya Chutkan based on exactly Donald Trump's violence and rhetoric, I don't know how she will rule or act, or if the prosecutors will ask her to be more assertive or fine or, place another order or something. I don't know what they're going to do. But I believe that if anybody would do it, it would be Judge Chutkan. Judge Chutkan's favorite, my favorite phrase, quote from Judge Chutkan is, presidents are not kings and plaintiff is not president. That's from Trump v. Thompson, where that opinion went on to then, cause the Supreme Court to give Congress, aka January 6th Select Committee, the permission to get NARA, National Archive documents, and investigate the insurrection. So I have gone on for quite a bit. If I read, Chutkan is great. If I read all those numbers, I'm gonna get cross-eyed at the moment. But thank you. Amazing today morning conversation has been quite amazing. JFJ, please leave your name, because I don't, unless you want me to call you JFJ, I have no problem with that. I do hope you interact with me in the other chat, other messages. I come on live stream and I talk about it mostly unscripted. This is my notes. I don't have a teleprompter. This is my room, which is also my office. This is also my dog's room. So it's kind of I don't know if you've seen the demon behind me or not. Where is it? Okay, you see over there, right there. He's sleeping. So you'll see him, and I'm not gonna wait. So thanks a lot. I will come back again. Hopefully, there's something that happens with Donald Trump making these threats, because even the most broad range threats against the president, our current president, Joe Biden, increases the chance of death threats against the current president. And all of these threats and all of these cases, it costs the taxpayer money, so yes, I will come and check out J Live at some point. Please let me know in the comment the link, if you share a link, not in the live stream because I won't be able to save it. And if I am able to save it, I don't know how to do it. So please leave a comment in the video, and yeah, leave a comment in the video. Oh, JFJ Live, you're a comment. Oh, awesome! That's amazing. That's wonderful. So yeah, it takes all of us, and I completely appreciate you being here. I'll check out your channel for sure. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Cool. I'm taking off. Ta-ta.